Welcome to PARAMERICAN Radio. I am your host, Chad Calek, as always hanging out with my best friend, the human honey butter. I don't know, it just sounds like good, human honey butter, you know? Justin Holstein is in the house with Stevie Tinder Zilberman. What's up, man? How's your day going so far, guys? I haven't seen you all day. I haven't even spoke to you all day.
Good. You know, last night we got back. It was St. Patty's Day, so we went out and had one beer, talked to this dude, existential leprechaun guy.
Who visits people in his dreams.
Yeah, man.
You really gotta ask yourself, what do you want or what does she want?
Just crazy stuff. I mean, it was whacking me out, all the stuff he was saying.
I had no beers for St. Patty's Day. Yeah, I don't drink alcohol. People are always surprised I don't drink alcohol. You know, I'll tell you what was funny. When I first started doing Paranormal State, I was at some conference, and I think it was honestly the last time that I got, like, drunk. And there were a bunch of pictures of me taking shots of Jägermeister. And everybody, you realize the power of social media, people immediately thought A, Chad drinks, and B, he loves Jägermeister. So for about 6 months straight at fan events, people would bring me Jägermeister, bottles of it, you know, huge fucking bottles of it. And I always felt terrible because I was like, oh, thanks. I'm thinking, I'm not drinking this shit, you know. And I used to give it away to people who wanted it, but it was the weirdest thing forever. People were bringing me. I know a lot of people think that I would drink. A lot of people think I smoke weed too. I don't know why that is. I mean, I think I know why it is. I think it's because, like, when I was on Paranormal State, they peel away a part of your personality, and they made me out to be kind of this biker Harley type dude, you know. And so I think people just assumed that I drank and smoked a lot, you know, which I need to figure out how to smoke. So my agent Richard said he said he is the cigarette master. We had a long talk this morning. He smoked his whole life. And he said, trust me, dude, do you have a vapor gun? And I said, yeah, I have a vape pen. And he was like, I go, it just doesn't work for me. It's not. He goes, I know, me too. He goes, trust me. He's like, I have a series of oils that if you use them, it'll be perfect. Trust me. You know, so we kind of had this, you know, he took on the challenge. He said that, you know, I can absolutely get you to stop. I said, dude, I'm all about it. So he's going to New York this week, but the week that he comes back, we're going to get together at his place and try to see if his plan works. He says there's a series of oils that if I just smoke them as he tells me to.
Like nicotine oils?
Yeah. And he said if I just vape them like he says to by, I think, week 3, I'll be ready to stop. And he said he did it, studied it, all this stuff. He smoked for 20 years of his life. Just stopped like that. I said, dude, I would do anything, you know. So as far as today goes, for me, you ever have, like, I don't know why, but every now and then I, like, have those, like, just fucking emotional, introspective days where I'm just
I think I know why.
Big picture stuff. Why?
Well, the last podcast, man, it was a pretty tough one. Everything we talked about, so
yeah,
when you went to sleep.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and I just had just just introspective, just, you know, cherishing things more that you should cherish, you know. Thinking about stuff, listening to music, and like, yeah, I don't know, just like you have those days sometimes where you just tune in more, you know. And I was listening to that song, I Am the Highway by Chris Cornell, and there's such an amazing line in that song. And, you know, everybody, what I love about music, it means something to each person, right? That's what's great about music, right? Each song can mean something different. And there's this great lyric, you know, where he says, I am not your rolling wheels, I am the highway. And that whole song to me, I take it almost as like, you know, like when bad things happen in life, it's like the Joe Ansley effect, like, man, I'm so unlucky, and I'm like this, and how could this happen? And it reminds me of that story where, like, have you heard the story where the scorpion is trying to get across, you know, the pond, and the frog says, hey, hop on my back, I'll give you a ride. Yep. And he gets to the other side, and the scorpion stings him, and he goes, Jesus fucking Christ, why did you sting me? I help you get across the pond. And he said, what the fuck? I'm a scorpion. That's what I do, you know? The same thing, like, I'm not your rolling wheels, I'm the highway, like life, like, what are you upset about? Like, this is what life is. It's the the wheels break down, not me. I keep going. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, the worst one inevitably come. So it's almost like you should embrace. I know this is fucking way like, you know, esoteric, but it's almost like you should embrace. You should embrace the struggle just as much as you embrace the celebration. You know, when things go right. You know, it reminds me of another lyric where in the song Black Sheep. You know, he says, Martin Sexton says, "I thank God Almighty for getting me out of my own way and for giving me everything that I didn't want to have happen at that time." You know, it's just those moments where you're like, God, you know. So yeah, I just had this long like cave morning, you know, where I love doing that sometimes. I love just shutting out the world, finding that perfect record, and just, you know, taking time to not think about number crunching and goals, and just like, you know, ask yourself kind of where you're at. Where am I at in the world right now? You know, what is good about my life? What is special about my life right now, you know? Yeah, it was a deep morning, guys. You ever had those days? No, he's like, nah,
Well,
fuck it. I'm too busy with Tinder.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I think you probably have them a little bit more as you get older. I think when I was younger, I never had these moments, and I think it's because when I was younger, I wasn't aware of, you know, just how unfair and unforgiving the world is. You know, and I think as you get older, it makes you appreciate your successes more because you just realize how the cards are just stacked against fucking everyone.
I always like the analogy of like, when you're young and you're playing with a little matchbox car in the sand, all you see is the sand in this little area. But as you get older, you go higher up, and you can be over that exact same spot, but when you're older, it's like you're in an airplane and you're looking down over that exact same spot, and you just see so much.
Right.
And you want to control so much. And the reality is you only have so much control, you know?
Yeah, well, it made me think a lot about my daughter. I was thinking about her this morning, too, about how I think adulthood actually happens when you become aware that, kind of like I was saying before, you know, that the good will come with the bad, that life is, you know, things like fair, like that's a fairy tale, you know what I mean? Like justice, you know, it's rarely served, you know what I mean? Like when you accept the world for what it is, and it's like almost, it takes me back to, I was approached twice by two different agents when my daughter was like 2 that wanted to like sign her and start like baby modeling and stuff. And I was just thinking, man, no fucking way. I mean, the last thing I want my baby girl to be doing is working, you know what I mean, for somebody, or to be like, you know what I mean? It's just like, Jesus, I want to keep her away from the reality of the world as long as I can so she can just have that childhood, you know? Because it's weird. When I was younger, my dad used to always say things to me like, you don't know how good you got it, you know? And I remember asking, I hated being a kid. I was always that child that wanted more, you know, reign than they would give me. And I used to say to my dad, why do you say that? Like, you know, you miss being a kid and it was awesome. He's like, Chad, God, just to wake up and I could just go to school and just, you don't know how good you got it. You know what I mean? I always think, but you can do whatever you want. You don't got to get permission to do shit. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Being an adult is way better than being a kid. And now I look back and it's like, no, being a kid's way better than being an adult, you know? Like, just the beauty of discovery. I think that's what I miss the most as I get older, is that when you're a kid, you discover so much, so frequently. And you have to work harder to discover new things as you get older. You know what I mean? Especially because you get in a position where you're maintaining a life. So you have the things you do to make money, to earn, you know what I mean? And that becomes a function. And you just start, you know, around the track you go, you know what I mean? So you got to do things like, you know, plan to go film in, you know, England and then take that trip to Ireland, you know what I mean? To see that other side of life. Like, it becomes harder and harder to discover new things, you know? And I think that's a big thing about life as you get older, so... anyways, not to take us off a deep moment, but that was I had one of those mornings today. I was in an emotional cave, not a bad way, in a very good way, you know, just kind of smiling, going, it's been been a good run so far. A lot of ups and downs, you know what I mean? A lot of moments where you're like, fuck, this is scary, but also some of the highest of highs.
I think the good lesson out of that is embrace the challenge, man.
Yeah.
I remember that time we were shooting that music video in Des Moines, and over duration we were trying to get all these people for free, and I got all these people to say, yeah, sure, I'll be there, and I'm thinking, I just don't trust them though. We're not going to pay them, And last second, nobody shows up. It's the morning of.
I remember
I'm
that
freaking
music
out,
video.
stressing.
Holy cow, I remember that.
You say,
video.
okay, you start. I think it was between you and whatever. You guys started calling, and you finally got a hold of an agent. And
we showed up that morning. We had some interesting characters. I'm not even going to talk about them too much. That were coming into town to do a rap music video. And, you would think, people would want to be a part of it. And everybody would have had it not been like a Saturday morning when people were going out Friday night. So, we showed up and we were supposed to have all these, like you said, extras show up, and no one showed up. And I had like 2 hours to figure that out on a Sunday or a Saturday morning. So I just started hammering the phones and woke up every agent I could in the Midwest and basically told them, this is what's up. And we fixed it. We got it all taken care of, you know what I mean?
There's a delay we did with makeup, and amazingly enough, the thing is, if you want it bad enough, there's always a way, Even in the last second desperation moment.
Thomas and I talk about this. We talk about that there does seem to be a dividing line in people as far as personalities go, in those who will take the leap and those who won't. Like when you want to go for something and you want to do something great, everybody will go down that road right up until the point where it's like, hey, you could lose something here, big time. And that's when people go, fuck that, I'm out then. You know what I mean? There's a very small percentage of people that will go, yeah, but I could gain more than anything that I've ever had before. And they're like, yeah, but the chances are you'll lose. Well, okay, but, I look at that as like the half glass full, right? Most people are half glass empty. And depending upon what your skill set is, some people can make it, some people crash and burn, you know what I mean? But I think, that's what today was. Today was take the leap. There's this great video Thomas sent me a while ago. Steve Harvey talks about this, take the leap. He's talking about, have you seen the Steve Harvey video? About how on the way down, you'll basically figure out how the parachute works. You know what I mean? And you'll see people going by you, and they're okay. Don't worry about it. You'll figure it out before you hit. And trust me, by the time you figure the chute out, you're going to land on your feet. And when you do, life's going to be greater than you ever could imagine. But take the fucking leap. Take the leap. Don't be everybody else watching. It's a great video of his. Yeah, it's got like millions of views on that video. So.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get right into that damn rabbit hole. I just popped the lid off. I got Justin on my shoulders. I'm jumping in. I'm falling through the rabbit hole, Steve. I just smashed my hands on the side. I'm holding him up. What do you got for me?
All right. Well, in Argentina, a frog was discovered that is fluorescent. And this is the first ever amphibian that was discovered, which is fluorescent. Because there's like fish and whatever else. And scientists call this, quote unquote, unprecedented. But this frog looks freaking killer, man. Check this out.
Is it?
It's so cool.
Whoa. And this was just discovered where?
Argentina. It's called the polka dot tree frog.
Look at fucking nature, dude. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Yeah.
I know. And it kind of goes back to what we've been talking about, with all these new species always being discovered. And
yeah. How much shit's out there that you don't know?
Yeah. Never ending.
That is just super dope. Wow.
Yeah.
I want one as a pet, man. You know what I mean? That's badass. I would sit in the dark in my house just to watch him, you know what I mean? That's badass. Have my friends come over to have a dark watch the frog party, you know what I mean? I'm going to get wasted, ready? Shut out the lights. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see all my friends would do it too. We'd always be sitting around going, fucking frog is dope.
It's amazing how many technologies we've developed though off of things like that.
Yeah.
When we found fluorescent, I think it was we developed the technology off of either it was a fish or something like that, right?
Yeah.
You just look at what chemicals make them are able to do that, and they just recreated it.
That'd be funny if we found out that the Argentinians were like the best in the world at making beer lights. We found out this is why. It's been their secret for years.
They've kept it.
That's super cool, man. I don't know what else to say to that other than that's dope. Yeah, that's great. Badass. Good for you, Argentina.
Yeah. So, Swedish council member proposes paid breaks for sex. And... man, it's always out of these Nordic countries, like the most bizarre solutions to politics come from. Each week, councilmen and women will go home and just have sex.
Now, what country was this in?
Sweden.
And it's a government that's proposing this?
Yeah, the town of Övertorneå. It's in the Arctic Circle.
And they're suggesting now paid breaks to go fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I'd vote for it if there's
It's funny that they specified that. I mean, if they wanted paid breaks for, whatever. Generally in America they would classify it as relaxation, whatever. Whatever you want to do in your break is fine. But for the very goal to have sex, like that's what you have to do on this break.
The fucking Nords know what's up.
Maybe he's saying something, about his wife in that situation. It's like, I want to set up a break, but the purpose of this break will be defined by law.
Well, I think it's certainly establishing how important sex is to their culture, for God's sakes. I mean, it wouldn't even be on a bill here in the U.S., That's
no
crazy.
way.
You know what I mean? That shit would get shot down like crazy.
Oh, man, there'd be, riots in the street from...
I mean, I wonder if it'll pass. Has it passed legislation at all, or they're just
Not yet,
suggesting
but...
Let's keep an eye on this and see if it actually passes. That'd be hilarious. They're like, well... time to go fuck, you know what I mean? Cha-ching, right when you're done. I just made $9, you know what I mean? That's crazy. Isn't that a form of now prostitution, wide then, if they're getting paid to fuck?
It's true, but I don't know if it's illegal in Sweden.
Yeah, maybe not.
You hear a whole lot of speaker, I move, we go directly to break.
Yeah, can we go to break early today, guys?
Yeah, I guess. Go get your fuck on. We'll see you guys in a bit. Hurry the fuck up, Wow, that's funny, man. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow, funny as hell.
Right. So this next one is robot telepathy could make self-driving cars safer. And this group at the Boston University, they're working on a tech that uses your brain signals to automatically correct a robot's errors. So when you're in a self-driving car, you're basically going to be interconnected with the car. So again, this is right? This is another transcendence, Westworld type.
Yeah, where they're using your brain and what would be ultimate automation over and over again it's fucking mind-blowing, dude.
Yeah.
Everything's going here, man. Everything is going exactly to what, it's in the documentary, that guy, Transcendent Man. He predicted all of this, you know what I mean? All of this is happening.
Yeah.
I saw on the way here, one of the, I don't know if you see them out here in LA, Steve, the smart cars.
Oh, yeah, with the big things on top. Yeah,
I saw them on the way here. And dude's sitting in the car, there's no one in the driver's seat, it's just zooming him to where he's going. You know what I mean? That's fucking awesome.
They pick people up too. I've talked to a few Uber dudes that have had people that have been picked up by them. You know? So you can just call an Uber and...
There's got to be some kind of service or somewhere you can sign up for. I have to look into it. I want to take a ride in one of them. It'd just be cool to get in a car with no driver and it takes you where you're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're
you wouldn't be scared
They're
at
on
all?
the highway here. They're testing them full on here. So, that's coming fast. I bet within a year we're going to see those things everywhere. Because the electrical cars, man, they hit LA and it was overnight, dude. The Prius electrical cars, Teslas, overnight here. It was like, wow. Everybody's driving an electrical car here,
Well, they'll move them into there's categories of self-driving cars. There's level 3, level 4, and then level 5's the top, where it's fully nothing is controlled or needed, no input, right? I think level 4 is almost fully controlled, but there's situations like rain, ice, whatever, that they may, in those situations, need human interaction, right?
Oh.
And then level 3, I would imagine it's almost like it's there. It's like, Big Brother looking over your shoulder going, hey, you're going to hit that, you know what I mean? But you're actually driving. I think something like that.
Well, with the key is the ability to learn. Think how quickly they'll learn, too. If you're taking just 10 different cars in 10 different cities with 10 different climates, and you're sending them out there into the world, and they're all recording and learning at the same time, and then you combine all that.
Well, with DeepMind, that new AI they're working on.
It won't take long, for them to be just geniuses. You know what I mean?
That was actually that was one of the things they talked about in the article. The article about the newer DeepMind AI, that the AI, they would play like this racing game, and sometimes the levels would have like snow or rain. And over time, the car started learning, if it's snowing, you drive slower, you take the turn slower.
It's badass, man.
Yeah, it's
very cool. Well, awesome, guys. This leads us to our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll do current events, movie review, got a good one for you, and fan questions. We'll be right back with more PARAMERICAN Radio.
PARAMERICAN Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope-ass shit.
In a distant land where magic is as real as the rainbow. In a place where nature exceeds imagination. A paranormal investigative team led by a man named Craig Powell has captured something on film. Something that will change the world. I have seen Sir No Face, and soon you will too.
Welcome back, everybody, to PARAMERICAN Radio. It is once again time, Steve, to tell us what's going on in the non-strange, non-mysterious, non-weird, but ever so weird world of current events. What do you got?
We got to think of a name instead of a rabbit hole, maybe the snake hole.
The Steve hole.
The badger hole. Yeah.
The Tinder hole.
Yeah. So Russia's lower house of parliament is launching an investigation into U.S. news media that operate in Russia. It's not clear how the investigation would be conducted, what might be done with the results, even why they're doing it. But I think this is a really interesting piece of news because, we talk about how the CIA, Project Mockingbird, and
how they could potentially be doing it in Russia, you mean?
Right.
So they're investigating that.
Exactly. So, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not surprised, especially because there's so much of our media dominating this Russian connection. And essentially what the media if I step outside and look at it, it appears as though our media is preparing us for a war with Russia. That's what it appears. They're the bad guys. They fucked with our election. Putin's scary. You know what I mean? Like, Trump should have no business talking. They just seem to be, really painting them as the monsters, So that makes total sense to me that they'd be like, let's see what is this American media company doing over here?
The scary part is how quickly the American consciousness just loses. It was only how many years ago was it where Obama was saying that it was a joke that Mitt Romney thought Russia was our biggest adversary,
Yeah.
And he was saying, well, this isn't 1960 something or whatever, and it's so you can jump from there to the fact that it is now, right? I mean, by all practical purposes, perception-wise.
Yeah.
Well, Putin he's a leader's leader. He's an intelligent, really fucking intelligent guy. He's a hardliner. I mean, of all the leaders out there, to me, he fits the traditional mold of a leader, better than any of these dudes do. I mean, I think that's what's scary about him. This guy was the head of the KGB, for God's fucking sakes. I mean, you know what I mean? It's so you don't think that he's... That's why I want to hear about this, they're hacking our shit. I'm sure they're doing a lot. He was the head of the KGB.
Right.
You know what I mean? Fucking A. Wake up, everybody.
Admittedly, I mean, I was watching a news program, I forget how, 2 months ago, a month and a half ago, where they were having a discussion the fact that the CIA's been hacking other people's elections for years. years.
Of course.
Senator goes, well, yeah, but not at this.
No bullshit. No bullshit. No, I mean, yeah, especially when you look, when we first figured this all out, well, it was the Snowden documentary, or the film too, and the documentary. Dude, we were doing it to our own people in China, Japan, all of Japan. They were the first ones we targeted and just ripped them apart. We've been doing it forever, dude. They're doing it to us. Think about it. When you're doing it to your own fucking population, you think they're pausing for some other country? Nah, man. Not at all. Yeah. Craziness. What else you got, man?
They did a cystic fibrosis study. I believe it started, they looked at patients since the 70s, and patients live 10 years longer in Canada than they do in the U.S. So the reason that I decided to pull this one was because the reason that the U.S. has not gone to a socialized healthcare system is because we argue that privatized is better. From Michigan to Canada, it's like, 15, 20, 30-minute drive, whatever. We're that close, but scientists say that reasons for this are because of lung transplantation, just differences in the healthcare system, and also like food-wise and just...
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the benefits that I know I have, and I know Justin has as well, and you too, Steve. If you're fortunate enough to get in a position where you could travel the world, and you actually use these facilities, you start learning how much bullshit is fed to you. Like this whole idea that like, yeah, but socialized medicine, you wait an hour you wait in line for 3 hours, and they make it sound like you walk into there, it's a fucking sweatshop of no bullshit. I've been to Australia's socialized system. I've been to Canada's socialized system. Both times I was in lightning fast to see a doctor. Both times it was as modern as anything that we have in America. Both times I got the same medications, the same shit over like there was nothing different. Now I do know that American doctors are obviously amongst the best in the world when it comes to just medical procedures but at the same time the doctors are going to get paid no matter what, whether it's privatized or socialized, they're still getting paid.
Sure.
So that shouldn't matter, But I can tell listeners out there, if you've heard these stories about socialized medicine being like second-rate medicine, it's not true. It's not true at all. And think about it. Why would it be? So everybody in Canada is going to sweatshop doctors and shit? Come on.
Well, look at the big one here is like there's a lot of things in business that you could see why money would motivate people, sales, whatever. But when it comes to healthcare, I mean, as a doctor, there's obviously a personal connection you start having with people.
Sure. Right.
You want to help them.
Yeah, you'd hope that you don't become a doctor so you can get paid a lot,
Right.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with making good money in a lot of different professions like that.
But I think I know what Steve's saying. Like, you wouldn't think that would be there's an acceptance that as a doctor you'll make a ton of cash.
Right.
That shouldn't be your driving principle.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
a million ways you can make a ton of
Helping
cash.
people
You know
should
what I
be.
mean?
Yeah.
You can make a ton of cash selling fucking drugs. You know what I mean? So, right, you would go into it because you want to help.
You know what? I've noticed. I've seen this happen. So Dana got sick, and they didn't know what was wrong. They rushed in there.
Justin's wife.
My wife.
Yeah.
And so they said, we're not sure what's wrong, but we're really suspecting it's your the one everybody can take out. Not your gallbladder. I think
it's like on the tip of my tongue too.
It might have been the gallbladder. Anyway, so they went in. Spleen. No, it wasn't the spleen.
No, you can't lose your spleen.
No,
It's your gallbladder. You can lose your gallbladder.
You can lose your spleen.
No,
Really?
it's that thing that explodes.
Yeah, because I ruptured mine when I was in, and they were going to remove it, and they decided they didn't need to.
Keep talking. I'll look it up as you talk. I know Houdini died.
Appendix.
Yeah.
So they suspected it was the appendix, right? So they went in, did the surgery, took it out, and they said, it wasn't the appendix. Thought maybe it had something to do with their female parts. And part of it is like the bill was astronomical, right? I mean, insurance covered, luckily, a good portion of it, but still, it was a huge chunk. And you're thinking,
oh man.
Then I'm talking to a lot of nurses and head, Dana's mom used to be a head nurse, that they really like these doctors that push into having surgery because it makes the hospital way more money, And these are a lot of for-profit industries.
That's crazy.
Right? So when you have for-profit industries like that are benefiting off of saying, you know what, first attempt, let's take out something that, if that fixes it, then if it doesn't, they didn't need it anyway. We're going to have a huge chunk that came in off that client, for insurance purposes. I just see that when there's money involved.
Part of the story is that they just took her shit and then said, oops, sorry.
Right. Yeah, can you imagine, heart transplant or something like that?
By the way, I just looked up the spleen thing. You're correct. I stand corrected. You can lose the spleen, but they highly advise against it because people without this, the spleen helps the liver filter blood.
Yeah.
And without it, people are very, highly prone to infections. So people die pretty easily without a spleen. They can live with it. It happens, but they get infections really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a spleen.
But
that's just crazy that they were just like, yes, oh shit, sorry, yeah, wasn't that? You're good though. No no appendix now.
Yeah. Then
what the fuck?
You find out this happens a lot, and wow. It's actually this. Oh, to follow up on it, basically what happened. I think Dana's mom went, and she did not like this doctor who was doing surgeries that were not necessary over and over, right? And she went and started talking about it, and she wanted to report it at the hospital, and they basically pulled her aside and said, "Listen, this guy makes a ton for this hospital. And if it comes to him or you, I would just back off of this,
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Some conspiracy shit, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's whack as fuck.
They're like, well, which part of the body can we take out and it wouldn't matter?
Yeah.
The appendix.
That's a whole fucked up story. Wow. Crazy. All right, what else you got for us, man?
Right. So this next one is kind of, this will hit home kind of for you and for me. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but a Danish study of 30,000 patients over a 10-year span of time found that Nurofen, which is, I don't know if they have that.
Ibuprofen and codeine.
Right. I don't know if they have that in the U.S., but it's huge in Australia.
Yeah.
They found that it has...
It's over-the-counter codeine.
Right.
It's an over-the-counter opiate.
Yeah. They found that there's a 31% increased risk of cardiac arrest.
Using Nurofen.
Right, using Nurofen.
Probably because the overdose of, wouldn't be the opiate, it would be the ibuprofen, correct?
Exactly.
Yeah,
it is the ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And it's just so wild because so many people take for granted, they have a headache, they take Advil.
Yeah.
Well, are there companies doing studies with Advil or with Tylenol?
Or the
ibuprofen is the main.
Ibuprofen is very deadly. What's funny is... for people who are addicted to opiates, in America, we mix the opiates with acetaminophen, okay? Acetaminophen, in prolonged excessive use, it will literally burn holes in your liver. It will basically do to your liver what massive drinking does. What's that called? When alcoholics drink too much,
it's hardening of the liver.
Right. It's called this cirrhosis.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So acetaminophen will essentially do that over a long, period of time. So in the UK and also Australia, they mix it with ibuprofen. Now, ibuprofen, you could take a shitload of it in a short amount of time and have relatively no effects other than profuse bleeding. Like if you get a cut, you'll bleed way more. People's gums, people that take a shitload of ibuprofen will eat food and their gums will bleed.
Wow.
If you ever watch Deadliest Catch, there's all the time people are spitting blood and stuff. It's because they take so much ibuprofen, their stomach starts bleeding, the stomach wall. Ibuprofen is way more deadly in prolonged use than acetaminophen. It's just less deadly in short doses. So if you took a fuckload of ibuprofen for a week, you'd be okay. But if you take it for a long period of time...
Which everyone does, though.
Right, of course. That's hooked, of course, yeah. Then it could fuck you up. But one of the side effects I've heard of too. The only reason I know this is because when we went on the last tour, I had a broken fucking leg.
Yeah.
So the last 3 days that I was there, I ended up getting that Nurofen Plus, and they told me when I was in there, she was telling me about all this shit with it, and it's only going to be on the shelves there until 2017.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's off the shelves after that. This year, it's coming off the shelves.
I'm on the board of a nonprofit in the Quad Cities, and one of the pain doctors, who's an alternative medicine, he's an Indian guy. He just so against ibuprofen. He said every time you take one pill, it's killing how many cells, he said, in your stomach and whatever. It's
deadly. Yeah, ibuprofen is fucking deadly, especially for addicts that are taking ibuprofen combinations they're having like way higher than those who take like just like a Norco or things like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Acetaminophen it takes prolonged use and a lot for a long period of time. And the thing is about the liver, if you stop, the liver is the only organ in your body that regenerates. So if you stop, it could actually get back to being good until you go too far with it, right? Until you damage it so bad, its base functionality no longer works.
Right.
Wow.
And ibuprofen, ibuprofen eats up your stomach lining. I mean, it does all kinds of shit that's really fucking bad for you, man. Yeah.
My roommate takes it every single day, multiple times.
I try to avoid. I just try to avoid taking fucking anything.
Right.
Period.
Well,
I mean,
generally,
I really
pain.
do.
Nobody likes pain, obviously, right? And there's certain situations where you feel damn lucky that they're going to give you something to get you out of a situation where you're in tons of pain. But pain is there to tell you something's wrong. You know, if your hand's on a hot stove,
Most
it's there
people
to
don't
tell you to
realize
get it
most
off.
pain people can live with, and I had to relearn this as well too. Like, pain medications are there for moderate to severe pain. That's why they're there. Like, every now and then you have these crazy fucking headaches that debilitate you, that you get.
What happened when the bad one was in Texas, what happened is I just picked up a really heavy thing with my arm outstretched, and it just pulled out a muscle.
Oh, yeah.
So then later my back started going like this, which just...
Well, for whatever the reason. My point being is, in those moments, like, I've seen you like that. You're fucked up. That's when you need pain medication. You know what I mean? Or if you have a broken leg and you wake up and it's not swollen and you take 10 steps on it and it swells up right away to a fucking cantaloupe, you know what I mean? You need pain medication, Most people, I mean, that's why there's all this fucking problem in America right now. I'm the smallest thing. Dude, there was times especially I live in the West Coast. I remember going in and talking to a doctor and be like, man, I had fucking terrible migraines lately. Here, Oxy. What? What? Now it's not like that. Now you could be practically be on your fucking deathbed and they're not giving you shit. Like, you got to be like dying of cancer or whatever. But it was like that for a long period of time. Or the thing is, they were sending look, it shuts them up. They go home.
Yeah.
Don't complain.
Yeah.
Got no pain. You know what I mean? And that's Western medicine as a whole. It's a whole other conversation we could have. But Western medicine is not about fixing the problem. It's about taking away the side effects of the problem. That's way different. That's one of the differences you start looking at of Eastern medicine versus Western medicine.
Right, yeah.
Eastern medicine is about fixing the problem. Right. Western medicine is about masking the results of the problem, which is a serious fucking problem. So, is that 3 already? Damn, we cooked through it. Well, I have an awesome, and I mean fucking awesome documentary that I highly suggest to everybody. I'm pretty certain nobody here has heard of it. I know that it is available on Netflix. And it's also available, I believe, I know it's available on iTunes. It's called In Heaven There Is No Beer, the Kiss or Kill Music Scene. And the reason this is such a special documentary is music scenes, they don't really exist anymore. They don't. Like, the Los Angeles music scene is decimated. I mean, and that happened when bars started charging bands to play there. Now if you want to play any of these clubs in LA, anybody can play, you just pay. You buy all the tickets from the club, and then it's up to you to go sell them, which is such a bullshit because, they're artists, What's great about this movie is it's about the last real LA music scene, which was called the Kiss or Kill music scene. And it basically started and existed around the Silver Lake area. And and all these bands were punk oriented, but different versions of punk. It was all very, very heavy.
Real quick before you go on, a fun fact. So if you go anywhere in Hollywood and you go to a coffee shop, you'll hear everyone talking about like film and this and that. But if you go to Silver Lake and you go to a coffee shop, you'll hear the same amount of talking, but about music.
Yep. Yeah. But there's still bands that are around, and there's still remnants of that.
Right.
And it's a special documentary in the sense that it's real indie. Like, whoever put this together, whoever directed it, and their names in there. But it's a collage of everybody was filming at that time when this happened. Whether it be cell phones, VHS cameras. It was the beginning of this was like in the early '90s, the beginning of like digital video and stuff. And, it just shows like what it takes to make a music scene and how they explode. And the fundamental thing that it takes is honestly friendship. All these bands it was just like we hear about in Seattle, where like they were all in multiple versions of themselves. I'm in this band, but I also play with you in this other band here. And hey, I want to play a show. I got a show on Friday night. You can open for me. You got a show next Saturday. I can open for you.
Right.
And it really kind of gets into, why the scene exploded and also why it ultimately died. And why it ultimately died, too many bands, as the scene was getting bigger and magazines were writing about it, and somebody from Green Day came to one of the Kiss or Kill showcases. It was the pursuit of the record deal. It started getting competitive, where now bands were like, one band got out of there and got signed, and everybody became kind of jealous of them and their connections. And now it was all about getting the deal.
Getting paid, man.
Right, getting paid. And that kind of broke it apart. And what happened was, the whole scene started because there was this one guy that was just a uber fan of local music, but he couldn't play instruments. So he idolized it. He was like, this is so fucking dope. You guys can do this. So he had this club where it became like their home base, kind of like Harry Mary's was for a long time. Or I'm sorry, the Long Shot, once we controlled it.
Right.
We all gave bands a place to play.
Right.
So this guy, ultimately, he was his club, but he would be in the front row, dude, back when they had like bands would play that had no fans. And there'd be 3 people in the room, and the owner of the club's in the front row by himself. There's all this footage of him dancing by himself to the bands and shit. He was that big of a fan.
Wow.
And he ended up selling it, and another guy picked it up because the guy started seeing, whoa, there's something happening here. So this guy wanted to start his own record label, Kiss or Kill Records, and he put out some demos and shit like that. But yeah, what ultimately killed it is, that pursuit of fucking money. And, and you see why when you watch the documentary.
I could see that big time, especially the fact, that's what everybody went into the LA. How many bands were from somewhere else but moved to Los Angeles and said, now we're from Los Angeles.
Oh, shitloads.
And not because now we're big time, and it was about them. It's the same reason almost like I don't like professional basketball and a lot of professional sports. It's about the person now, not about the team,
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, man, it's just like back then when Mutter and you guys were really starting to foster that scene and build it up. It's a choice, man, to do that. And
it's totally a choice, yeah.
And it's like Sean Moeller from formerly Day Trotter in the Quad Cities. He's created, it's called the Gas Seed and Feed Festival. And GAS stands for give a shit. Like, about art, about community, about people. And, dude, people attach. These bands come from all over, and it's like they're really great bands. So there are people, man. There are pockets like that of people out there.
Well, what's cool about having been a part of a scene and having built a music scene before, and that's what you see in this documentary, it goes back to Joe Ansley, our good friend and investigator. I always bring up this line because it's so beautiful. He has the song where he says, I just love what I do, what I am to my few. And that's what you see in this. Like, at their peak, I think they say at one point, one of the shows drew close to 800 people. Now, from the outside world looking in, you go, 800 people? That's not that big. That's huge. For a local band to bring 800 motherfuckers together, that's huge. On a global scale, it's not. But you can see what they loved about it. It's just like, these are our people. It's our scene, and all the bands had the Kiss or Kill stickers. It became cool if you were a Kiss or Kill band. And was it a Kiss or Kill show? And I forget, they explained why it was called Kiss or Kill. This documentary even goes into the fact that I guess just rampant sex was ripping through the whole scene because everybody knew everybody. It's the same way in the old Des Moines scene, you know what I mean? And everybody people are getting tattooed on their body, Kiss or Kill. That's what's cool about it, is it's ours. It's fucking ours. From nothing, this is now real. You know what I mean?
Right.
And at the end, there's a really cool thing where you can just see kind of how bummed out people are, that it ended. But I always say this, man, the beauty of anything that created, part of the beauty of it is when it ends, There's this new documentary or a commercial to Vice, talking about Viceland, and Spike Jonze is on the commercial, and he says, I'm really excited about, creating, Viceland, the channel, because we're at the precipice of it. And he said, we're in this building, and at one point machinery was made here, and then that came to an end, and now we're in here. And he's like, and one day we won't be here anymore, and something new will be here. So knowing that, what we're creating is finite, it will have an ending. If you accept that from the beginning, you know what I mean? It makes you all the more excited to do the best you can now, knowing that the end is imminent. And I think when you're in the middle of something that exciting, especially when you're young, there were certainly times where I felt like what we were creating could never end. When you're young and stupid and in the middle of it, because it all felt so strong and so fun.
Yeah.
And it was like, who would ever give this up? You know what I mean? And you don't know anything. You're a kid at that time. But what makes it beautiful, what makes it special, is that it ends.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a moment in time. If it goes on forever, it's not special. You know
it's
what I mean?
true.
Like everyone, respects The Price is Right now. But The Price is Right. It's almost mockable. You know what I mean? Because it's been around forever. It was just like it's like when Jordan came back. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, fucking retire. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
you know what I
know.
mean? Right. It's like, don't drive this into the ground. It was beautiful and it was perfect. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do that.
Yeah.
So-
Have you guys seen that Neil deGrasse Tyson interview with Larry King? And Larry King's, he says, if you could live forever, would you?
Yeah.
And he says, no, not in a million years would I ever choose to do that, because if you know
Devalues
your life,
everything you're doing.
exactly, if your
Right.
life is never going to end, then what purpose do you have for waking up in the morning? What
Right.
purpose do you have to drive to do something?
What makes it so special is the fact that it will end. So if you're out there, you want to check out a great music scene documentary that is about as authentic as it gets. Film Threat actually gave it 4 stars. In Heaven There Is No Beer, the Kiss or Kill music scene. The cover says, saving Los Angeles from itself one Tuesday at a time. That was the thing when they first started. They had free shows on Tuesday. That's how they all got to start playing.
Did they talk about what the venues were? Was it the Echoplex by any chance?
They do mention all the venues in there. I don't remember
Okay.
the names of the venues off my head, but they certainly mention them.
Okay.
A bunch of venue owners as well. So, having said that, let's get to fan questions. We got a couple good ones. So we basically have 3 questions, but it's basically 2 questions. Just what I'm talking about. Anyways, Jenny from Pensacola, Florida wants to know, are we going to take Paramerican Radio on the road? I think someone asked us that before. But yeah, we've talked about, doing this, especially on off dates.
Yeah.
Like we have off tour dates of setting up a live Paramerican Radio event and inviting people down to take part in it. Yeah, I could tell you we would love to. When the show gets big enough to, hold its own base, I could see us booking a complete Paramerican Radio tour. That'd be fun as hell to
Right.
go out and do 10 cities over the course of like 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Knock
think
it out.
people would be interested in attending a live recording.
That's what I mean.
And doing it as part of the tour itself. I mean, think about some of the guests we could get in those cities,
Yeah.
Instead of bringing them to Los Angeles.
We go to them.
Right.
Yeah, no, it'd be great. So
Oh,
that's
that's awesome.
definitely in the future plans for sure. And the last 2 questions, they're both the same. One's from Susan from Casper, Wyoming, and Heidi from Wahoo, Nebraska. One basically asks, if the Sir No Face footage proves ghosts exist, why haven't we released it to the news? And the other one is basically, why haven't we put it on YouTube? And listen, I think the news thing is coming, but the reason I haven't released it to the news yet is we want to do a tour. We made a movie. That movie costs money. There are things that you have to do to gain that money back. It's a business. It was an investment. And the second half to that is, look, if I called up the news and said, hey guys, I got footage that prove ghosts exist, you think they're going to take me fucking seriously? No, they're not. But if I go through 25 U.S. cities and line them up 1,000 deep outside of each thing, and everybody coming out of that show is going, yeah, that's real, think the news will pay attention then? They will. You got to do something special to get people to pay attention to what you're talking about. The world is just, saturated with people. It's a big claim. And whenever you make a claim that bold, this proves this, you're going to have to do something special. So part of this was, wanting to do something special, but also, I've always said I will give everything away for free the day that it's free to make movies. You know what I mean? If it's free to make movies, come see them for free. But as it stands, someone's got to make that money back, and it's a business, And as far as Yahoo goes, as far as YouTube goes, thank fucking God Craig never put it on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is where footage goes to die. It's the home of
graveyard.
fake footage. Right, it's a graveyard. It's where people post their fake footage. So we're not going to post our footage in the land of fake footage. It's not fake footage. You know what I mean? And I think people understand it when they see it. You know, we're booking the Sir No Face tour now. Come out and see the movie. You know,
Is Craig going to be on the tour?
Well, yeah, we're going to find a way to make it happen. You know what I mean? Definitely. I don't know how we can do something this big without him. I think he deserves to be there, you know? But yeah, I think come see it. I mean, the thing is that, you imagine if we called a news station and said something like that, they'd laugh you off the fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd laugh you off the fucking, the phone, so there's just no way to do it. So, anything to add, guys? Or are we there? I think we are there. I think we are at the end. It's the end of the world. Awesome. Well, thanks for listening again. We just talked once again, guys. We just checked out the analytics to the show before I got here. You guys are kicking ass. As our slogan says, keep telling somebody. You're doing great. Everything's pretty much like doubled since last month. So we thank you so much for listening, so much for watching. Tell somebody, let them know about Paramerican Radio. Keep watching, keep listening. We love you guys. Justin and Stevie, say goodbye.
See you next time.
Bye.
Peace, everybody. Bye-bye.